Do you find yourself scrolling through Twitter or Instagram a little too often? Are you kind of like me and struggle to get work done sometimes because you're just too lost in phone world? Well, today we're talking all things digital well-being and how OnePlus is helping you find balance between your digital life and your real life. Hello, everybody. My name is Fletcher Stubblefield. I'm a senior trainer here at OnePlus, and welcome to the very first episode of the OnePlus Podcast. Today, we are joined by two very special guests, Mr. Sam Twist and Mr. Owen Hu of OneLab. How's it going, guys?
Hi, Fletcher. Thanks for having me here. And hello, everyone. My name is Owen, and I am the user experience designer at OneLab.
Yeah, great to be here, Fletcher. I'm Sam Twist. I'm a senior product manager here at OneLab. And we don't have Avinash and Chetan, two developers that worked with on the project here today, but a big shout out to them as well. So OneLab, the team, is an exploratory software team. We look kind of upstream, look at the trends, try to identify things and how people use their phones. And then we try to tailor some applications or some features to what we think people will need and try to solve a few problems along the way. So we sit within the software division, and yeah, we've had a kind of exciting start working on a couple of apps and really interested to discuss our latest application with you today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to hear about it because, digital well-being is one of those things that is at the forefront of my mind right now. And it's so important. I mean, especially with the current pandemic and looking at research, it seems to suggest that, adults are spending so much time on average 3.5 hours plugged into mobile internet, and power users more so. Power users up to 4.5 hours, and kids in the last 3 or 4 years have almost doubled their video consumption. So how do you think that COVID has changed smartphone behavior? And do you think that it's leading to an increase in device usage just generally across the board?
Yeah, it's pretty crystal clear from the data that we're looking at that towards, March, April last year, we're seeing that real spike in especially social apps, apps that maybe you're not that happy with spending too much time on, and the general trend of mobile screen on time as well. Obviously, that's kind of is gone down over the last year, but still, if you compare this with 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago, then the trend is way up. And so it's definitely something for us to address and something for us to look into.
I know that you all have done a lot of work on digital well-being before, and immediately things like Zen Mode and Insight AOD come to mind. Would you mind just explaining a little bit about what those are and how those address this problem as well?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with Zen Mode because this is our first exploration in the digital well-being area. So I think it's 4 years ago, we had this co-creation with our community. And the basic idea here is to turn your smartphone into a brick. So you will just put it down so that you can focus on something else in the real world. And last year, we had another collaboration with students from Parsons School of Design in New York. So we created this Insight AOD, which is like an always-on display that it tracks how many times you have unlocked your phone throughout the day, and it visualizes your app usage into a pretty unique color bar. Now we have more than, I think, 300,000 users worldwide that are currently using this AOD.
Well, and that's awesome and super exciting. And that's a great point because that's really bringing us into the topic at hand, this digital well-being, this digital wallpaper that y'all have cooked up. And let me ask you, why develop this wallpaper application and what is its primary purpose?
I think looking back at the Insight AOD, this idea to kind of help nudge people's kind of digital well-being and just nudge their awareness of how they use their device was really, really popular. And as Owen said, we've got a huge number of users that have taken on this AOD and are using it every single day. And so we wanted to kind of roll with that success. And from a bit of research we did in the community, we found that people really like the digital well-being tools that Google have. And we think they're a great starting point. But as with our kind of operating system, we kind of do the same. We want to shine a light on the things that we love, and we want to push away some of the things that we don't love. and we love the digital well-being tools. So the problem we identified with the community is they're kind of buried in the settings. So you've got to go searching in your phone to go and find them. And then it displays quite a kind of simple donut graph of your usage. And so we wanted to take the information and kind of shine a spotlight on it and bring it all the way up to your wallpaper. So we had this idea of kind of visualizing with data your usage on your wallpaper every single day to create these completely unique, completely personalized wallpapers that actually can firstly be really beautiful wallpaper, and secondly help nudge the user and help just drive awareness on how you're actually using your device, because there's a massive disconnect with people looking at their actual data and then what they actually think they use, if that makes sense. I think I only do 15 minutes on Instagram a day, but when you look at the data, it can tell a different story.
So let me ask you this, and this is a question to both of you, because I think you hit on two really big points there. You hit on aesthetics and making, wallpapers that are really beautiful and visually appealing. But then you also hit on it displays data that's critical to us understanding how it is we use our devices. So my question to y'all is this: one, what information exactly is it displaying? What is it showing us about our usage? And then two, can you talk a little bit about the design elements? I believe we have 3 different designs.
Owen's the expert on design, so I'll talk about it a little bit on the data that it shows. So Google Play categorize your apps into around about 40 different categories, quite specific ones as well. If we were to kind of display all these categories on your home screen, it's going to be pretty messy. So what we did, we kind of compressed them all down into 6 categories. Things like social, gaming, lifestyle and communication. And then we take these categories and then we just display them in different ways on your device. And over the day, this is going to be constantly updating based on your usage. So your wallpaper is unique to you, constantly fresh, and it's almost impossible to kind of create the same wallpaper again. And then Owen has been the expert behind the kind of design style that we've taken forwards.
Yeah, so the first one we call it composition. I drew this inspiration from Piet Mondrian's famous painting Composition number 2 and number 3. So it's a pretty simple idea. We have 6 color tiles and each of them represents an app category, so that their size changes dynamically according to the screen time in the category. And you can also tap on it to view more information, just like I mentioned. And the second wallpaper, we call it Glow, where I combine the idea of data visualization with like neon lights. So if you're a fan of like Blade Runner, Cyberpunk 2077, I hope you would enjoy this wallpaper because it's like really fancy. And the third one, unlike the previous 2, it's more on the like informative side. We'll call it like the loud ones. The radio design, we want to bring like a more subtle feeling, and we want colors to grow and merge into each other in like a really smooth and dynamic way. So it can go well with like all different kinds of desktop setups.
And that's awesome. And you know that the game nerd in me is super excited to further cyberpunk up my phone. But let me ask you this, because as exciting as live wallpapers are and as unique as these are, what are we talking about when it comes to battery life? Because I know that live wallpapers can be a real sucker when it comes to battery life. Are we doing anything to mitigate this or to help with that battery efficiency?
Great question, Fletcher. I think it's one of the first questions we get with especially somebody like yourself who obviously knows a thing or two about phones. So live wallpapers traditionally are pretty consumptive, pretty battery hungry. And this comes from the redraw. So depending on the frame rate of your phone, they're getting redrawn kind of maybe 120 times a second. And this kind of computational power just kills batteries. We didn't really want to go down that route. We wanted to try and keep it like a wallpaper that you could use as your daily driver. And so we do a lot of the computation on the unlock of the phone. And so we'll draw the wallpaper. And so when you're using your phone, it's going to be static. But then every time you unlock your phone again, it's going to kind of update and change based on your usage. So we kind of get away with it, keeping it live, keeping it dynamic, but reducing the number of redraws to reduce the battery consumption.
I think I've already, revealed my hand when it comes to this, talking about my nerdiness for Cyberpunk, but I'm curious, which wallpapers are each of you using?
So of course, as a designer, I use all of them quite often, but if I'm going to pick one, I will go with composition. Because the first time I saw the actual painting, it was like quite a baffling experience because they're just basically colors and black strokes. I was like, well, what's this painting? But as more I dig deeper into it, I see it's quite interesting balance between static and dynamic. And it would be really cool if we can apply the same philosophy into a wallpaper, especially when we craft it with my own data. But every time I see it is a bit different, and I know this change is related to something of myself, that would be really cool. So yeah, that's my personal favorite.
Yeah, we got the full set. Find myself using radial the most, so we've completed it, all three. Maybe we need to add some more if we get more people on the podcast.
So I think pretty importantly, and perhaps the most important question that I can ask you today is, where can our consumers find this app? Where can they download it?
Yeah, of course. So I think there's going to be a link to the download in the podcast description. And also you could search for WellPaper in the Google Play Store or OneLab. And this will take you straight to our account.
And I guess my last question for you guys is this: what is next for the OneLab team? Y'all are always cooking crazy stuff up in the kitchen over there, and I'm just dying to know what else that is super exciting that you were working on.
Yeah, I knew we couldn't get away with not getting fish for the future questions.
I have to do.
Obviously, we're assisting the whole OS division on our next operating system rollout. But specifically for the OneLab team, we've just launched our app Clipped and obviously WellPaper. And we're going to be keeping up with these and maybe rolling out some improvements as we go. And then, yeah, there's lots of exciting ideas in the pipeline. I'm not going to give away any today, though.
And Sam, you can't blame me for trying, because I just have to know, and it's super exciting stuff. I think the audience is very curious as well, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. But with that, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. We have done so much, I think, to shed light on digital well-being. And here at OnePlus, everybody knows that that's who we are, right? We like to do things in a different way. And I think a lot of people are starting to talk about this digital well-being topic just due to the pandemic and COVID and all of these things. But at OnePlus, we can't do it like anybody else. We have to be different. We have to do things in a better, more innovative way. And I think this absolutely hits the nail on the head. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much, Owen, for joining us today. It was a real pleasure to have you here. I really, really hope you come back. And with that, everybody, download it from the Google Play Store. Check it out. Get it on your device and see the impact that it makes in your life. Thank you, everybody.